We are checking out Effectrix2 from Sugarbytes, specifically its effects and parameters. First up in this video, we're going to take a look at the ring effect. So this is a classic ring modulator with some interesting features. The first parameter is the ring freq, and this determines the base frequency of the ring modulation. This can go from quite low to quite high. We can also choose high quality mode, which enables a 4 times oversampling, and this is handy if you're trying to avoid aliasing. We have a set of LFO tools to automatically change the ring freq, including LFO speed, amount, and shape. So if I set the shape to a sine wave and bring the LFO amount up, the ring frequency starts moving in time to the LFO speed. And as I speed this up, the modulation on the ring frequency speeds up as well, so this adds another dimension of movement to play with. Let's try square just for fun. The width parameter controls the stereo spread of the effect, and the drive adds some distortion to really thicken out the sound. The final parameter is the waveform, and this changes the behavior of how the ring frequency works. At 0% we have a nice sine wave, whereas if we move it to the left we're going to get a harsher square shape. On the other side, moving it to the right brings us through to a saw shape. The second effect we're going to check out is the vinyl effect, and this is sort of a 2-in-1. It lets us emulate the classic sound of vinyl starting and stopping, while it also lets us create a scratching style effect. Let's focus on the time and slope, which is the start-stop stuff. For this example, I'm going to add in multiple steps just so the effect gets re-triggered more often. The time defines the time it takes for the record to slow down to a stopped position. So you'll notice at 1:16 it takes one whole step to stop, whereas if I change this to 1:32 it's taking half a step to stop. The slope parameter determines the curve of the transition, and we can also choose tape start instead of tape stop to emulate the starting up of a record rather than it stopping. It's worth noting that if we bring this parameter all the way down to 0, it will disable this start-stop effect completely, so this is handy if you just want to use the scratching tools. So let's move on to that now. The scratch dial determines the scratching amount, while the speed dial defines the speed in which the scratching happens. Let's play a bit with these and change the step sizes to capture different parts of the audio. The curve changes the shape of the scratching back and forth, and the pattern gives us a wide selection of scratching styles, so we can change the shape of how the record is being scratched. We can refine this even further with this drop-down menu, choosing whether we want immediate or abrupt transitions, smoother transitions, or very smooth transitions. The final effect we're going to check out in this video is Spectrum. So this is an interesting one. It gives us 32 delay lines, however it's not a traditional delay effect. Because there's so many different delays going on, it can be used to give really rich textures and very, very deep, dense sounds. The first parameter is delay, which determines the basic timing of the delays. However, it's worth noting that the delays all have different times. They're just all related to this parameter and the mode that we select. You'll see as I bring this parameter to its max, everything is happening so quick we sort of get a pitched sound. Whereas if I bring it down, things start to get a bit more rhythmical. So at the moment we're working in normal mode, which lets us set the delay times distribution in hertz. However, we can choose some different modes with this drop down here. The sync modes means the delays are multiples of 30-second notes, 128th notes, and 30-second again, but with alternative distribution. The narrow modes space the delays equally from 4 Hz to 260 Hz, or 65 Hz to 2000 Hz. Moving on to the diffusion, this slightly alters the delay times distribution even more, so it adds a bit more chaos into the mix. The input sets the volume that's fed into the delays, so if everything's sounding a bit too much, you can just bring this down. We can also choose whether we want to reset the memory when the effect starts, so this is to let the sound slowly build up. Or we go back to no reset, meaning the delays are preserved when the effect starts. The frequency dial controls the frequency distribution for the delays. This can change quite dramatically depending on the mode used and how many bands you have enabled. Make sure you play around with the different modes from this drop-down menu here. You can get some very different sounding results. The res parameter defines, yep, you guessed it, the resonance of the filters. So when this is set to a high value, everything is amplified and excited, sometimes even to the point of creating their own melodic content. The band parameter determines how many bands you want to use. Bringing this down calms the effect down, but it can turn it into something totally new. We can also choose if we want to skip every second band or skip every second and third band. Pan controls the stereo spacing of the delays, with pan alternating the pan related to the bands, pan 2 alternating the pan related to the bands in pairs of 2, and pan 3 alternating the pan related to bands in pairs of 4. I hope you have a lot of fun with this effect because it's definitely my favourite.